Within the withdrawal agreement, it is set out there are ways in which it is possible to end that backstop. Obviously, the best way is not to use it in the first place. The second is to get into the future relationship. There are alternatives. It doesn't have to be used, even when we haven't got the future relationship in place in time. But there are, we can ensure that there are arrangements in place. The key here is always ensuring that through the arrangements that we see in the withdrawal agreement, prior to the future relationship coming into place, which deals with this, that we deal with the commitment on
But we cannot unilaterally withdraw from this arrangement.
There isn't a unilateral withdrawal clause, but if you think about the nature of the insurance policy that the backstop is, this is about ensuring and committing to the people of Northern Ireland that there will be no hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. Yeah. And that means that in the circumstances where the future relationship, which would deal with that, the future relationship is not in place, the question is what then comes in. As you know, there's what's come to be known as backstop, there's the extension of the IP, there's possibility of alternative arrangements. All of those, clearly, from the withdrawal agreement, would only be temporary.
Yes, that's all understood, Prime Minister, and is well laid out. Do you share my worry that the backstop protocol is a bit like a post-war prefab? It's sold as temporary, it's built to last, and it's likely to outlive us all.
No, I don't. And there are a number of reasons why I don't. First of all, there are many, as you will see, there are a number of references throughout the withdrawal agreement that indicate that this is only temporary. One of those, of course, is the issue about Article 50, which cannot in itself, as a legal base, lead to a permanent relationship. But it is also, it's not just what's in the withdrawal agreement, but actually, if you look at the backstop, neither side thinks that the backstop is a good place to be in. Sure. The United Kingdom is worried about the implications of the backstop, but the European Union is worried about the implications of the backstop as well.
Do you think,
if we don't, for example, in the backstop, if we haven't agreed an agreement for access to fishing waters, which by definition almost certainly wouldn't have been, because the future if you're in the backstop, you haven't got the future relationship, and that agreement would be in the future relationship, then the European Union would have no access to UK waters, fishing waters.
You've anticipated my question, because I was going to ask you what you felt about President Macron's comments, because he clearly doesn't agree about the temporary nature of the backstop, or indeed his ability to secure more advantages from the United Kingdom if we came to the point at which we wish to remove ourselves from the arrangement.
Well, as I think I said the other day, I think it would be good for President Macron and others to perhaps recall the position that would apply in the backstop, which is the one that I've just set out, which, if there is no agreement on access to waters, and that agreement, of course, is part of the future relationship, the agreement of how we negotiate those access to waters, if that is not in place, which by definition, if you're in the backstop, it wouldn't be, because if it's in the future relationship, you wouldn't be in the backstop if the future relationship was in place, then there would be no access to UK waters.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. If you lose on the 11th of December, would you consider going back to the European Union and suggesting that the time limit to the backstop that was being negotiated in the summer and still being talked about in Dublin, for example, might be inserted, which is likely to get it over the line for a number of colleagues and might just about get this through the House of Commons? Do you think that's a possibility if you lose on the 11th of December?
Well, there's the temporary nature of the backstop is within the withdrawal agreement. At no stage was there any indication that a set time limit for the backstop could be in the withdrawal agreement. What stops the backstop is the future relationship or alternative arrangements being put in place that enable us to continue to give our guarantee to the people of Northern Ireland for the future, for the no hard border. And indeed, the European Union has made clear that there's no deal without a backstop. And I mean, the Taoiseach just a couple of days ago made the point that you can't. I mean, he was talking about he wouldn't speculate on no deal. You can't avoid a hard border just through goodwill, political statements, and wishful thinking. Actually, you need to have the agreements in place that enable that to take place.
Thank you.
Dr. Julian Lewis.
Prime Minister, everybody knows that the prospect of a so-called hard border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic has been a crucial factor in forcing us to stay in a customs union. So please tell us, under what circumstances could a hard border be erected between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic?
Well, first of all, if I may, Dr. Lewis, we are not being the statement being forced to stay in a customs union might imply to some who are listening that that is going to be the long-term permanent relationship of the United Kingdom with the European Union. It is not. This is a temporary arrangement for until the future relationship is in place. It need never happen.
Right, can we stick to my question though? Under what circumstances could a hard border be erected between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic?
The circumstances in which we have said that we would do everything in our power not to exercise, not to have a hard border, but we are not the only party to this arrangement. Obviously there is the Irish government. In fact, competence in this is a matter for the European Union. As I've just said, as the Taoiseach has made clear, sometimes it's said to me, well, everybody says they won't have a hard border, but the point he's made is you can't rely. He's saying you can't just rely on political statements for no hard border. You have to actually have the arrangements in place that enable no hard border to be erected.
Prime Minister, you still haven't answered the question. Under what circumstances could a hard border be erected, or are there no circumstances under which a hard border would be erected? For example, if we leave on 29th of March without a deal, and I know you don't want us to, and you're doing everything to avoid our leaving without a deal, but if we do, would there have to be a hard border? Would that be an example of when a hard border would have to be erected?
But that wouldn't be a decision entirely for us. But I'm sorry, Dr. Lewis, the point is that there will be, that potentially, in the no-deal scenario, we would do everything we could not to erect a hard border.
All right.
But there would be a decision from the European Union and the Irish